This commenter is asking about the process of introducing a new cat in the home to the resident dog. They have a new roommate moving in with a cat in a couple of weeks, and they want to make sure that it goes well. They are already swapping blankets so that each of the animals has a chance to sniff around and learn about the other animal without direct interaction, which is gorgeous. I love that so much. And they're setting up baby gates so that everyone has a bit of space when our new pet comes into the home. And this commenter shares that their dog tends to struggle with hyperarousal, particularly around other dogs. And so they suspect that that is what the struggle will be with the cat as well. And they're asking if there are any other tips and tricks that might not be common knowledge that can set everyone up for success in this situation. So, one of the biggest benefits that we have here is that this dog and cat, it sounds like, do not have any prior history. There is no negative history of interactions. And we want to preserve that as much as possible because that is our biggest strength. And so, probably my best guidance would be not to rush the meeting or to redefine what meeting looks like. This commenter has already started to do this with the blanket swaps. That's a great way for the dog to gather information about the cat and the cat to gather information about the dog without any of the social pressure or the risk associated with actually being in the same space and having physical access to each other. And dogs literally see and smell. And so they are gathering so much information when they smell. They're getting to know the sex of the cat's stress levels, the cat's diet, if the cat has health concerns, the cat's age. They're gathering so much information about this cat. So that's brilliant. That's beautiful. The baby gates are also a really nice addition because they're going to ensure that we are not having a physical meeting of the pets immediately. One thing to be cautious of with dogs as well, but especially with cats, is some cats will just clear a baby gate. They do make baby gates that go floor to ceiling, and those can be really helpful when it's important to keep that space. But so keep in mind that the baby gates might not do the entirety of the job that we want them to do. But what I would recommend here is actually definitely keeping the baby gates for sure, but I would create additional layers of separation initially. There's already a lot of big change happening in this household, and the humans know what's going on. We are fully aware of what is happening, and we have a lot of control within that situation. Conversely, the dog and the cat have no idea what's happening and very little to no control over the situation. And so, to set them up for success, we don't want their first meeting, their first interactions, to be at a time when they are already taxed on their resources. There are already changes happening. This cat is moving to a totally new place to live. This dog is having someone totally new, human and cat, move into their home. And so I would not want them to be as close as just through a baby gate, one on each side of a baby gate. I wouldn't want them to be that close together in the beginning. Instead, my recommendation would be to let everyone just get used to all of the big changes that are happening first, without necessarily having any visual interaction, and certainly without any physical interaction. So I might give it, depending on the dog and the cat and our personalities and our stress levels and our resilience to stress, I might give it a few days to maybe even a few weeks, as the cat really settles in and goes, okay, I live here now. I'm familiar with these spaces. I'm familiar with these people. There's a dog in the house, and I've spent a lot of time smelling the dog in the house and recognizing that I am safe from the dog in the house if the cat has any concerns like that. I know where all of my escape routes are. I know where all of my safe places are. And the cat's stress levels have had a chance to come down. So the cat is not super stressed from the move while also trying to build a relationship with the dog. That's going to set us up to have a more likely chance of having negative interactions and negative associations. And that's not where we want to start the relationship. Likewise, with the dog, we can give the dog a chance to get used to all of these changes, to settle into the new routine, to understand what's going on. And again, through smell, and also probably they're going to be hearing each other in the house, to gather information that way without even going for the visual aspect of seeing the cat, potentially communicating through body language. So getting all of that communication even at a distance. We're not even doing that yet. We're certainly not having that physical interaction. We're just letting everyone settle down so that when we do start introducing communication between the two of them through body language, and when we do start moving closer physically in proximity, everyone is in a better learning brain. They're in a part of their brain that allows them to be curious and pro-social, not in a part of the brain that makes it very difficult for them to be thoughtful and careful with their bodies. They're not in a part of their brain where they are super close to a fight or flight response. So take that time, take that time. It is so worth it to set up a positive interaction, to take that time in the beginning. That is going to be so much less stressful for everyone than trying to undo negative interactions that have already happened. Because of course we can't undo negative interactions once they happen. We're just trying to learn over them. And that's a lot harder than taking time going slowly in the beginning. To make sure that those interactions are slow and positive. Once it is time to start opening things up a little more, and now the animals can see each other, we'll have also gathered some data. So for example, if we're going through this and then we find out, oh, the dog just wants to like sit and stare at the door and is like exhibiting a lot of like predatory behavior, that's really good information for us to know before we go any further. Or if the dog is super, super aroused by the cat and we watch that come down and we're able to do some work creating calming associations, working on flight, we're able to create sanctuary spaces. That's good work to do ahead of time so that we have those skills in relation to the cat at a level where the dog was able to learn them without distressing the cat. So we're not learning those skills or working on those high levels of arousal or working on any negative associations at a level where the exposure is such that the stress levels are so high that our learner can't learn efficiently or well. And again, we're having those negative associations, so we can avoid that completely. So it's also an opportunity to gather data about what we need to do to set them up for success. And then as we begin taking those next steps, physical barriers are definitely our friends. The more space, the better. We want to make sure that both animals have an opportunity to move away. So we wouldn't want the cat to be in a carrier or for the dog to be in a crate. We wouldn't want the cat to be maybe up on a cat tree, but with no way to get down because the dog is at the bottom. You always want the cat to have at least 2 ways, if not more, to get out of the situation. So think about that when setting up safe spaces and flight options. And we want to make sure that the cat has safe spaces that they can go, and the dog has safe spaces that they can go that are just their own and that aren't being invaded by the other animal in case they want some space. So nice and slow, nice and slow. The end goal doesn't have to be, being physically in proximity to each other or being, physically on top of each other. We are going to be much better set up for success, and things will go much faster. Although it seems counterintuitive, things will go much faster if we take it slow and keep everyone under threshold, and we don't try to have all these new experiences all at once. And instead keep things really positive, keep them slow, identify problems early on, work with them before progressing forward, making things more challenging. We'll be in a much better situation. We do, in our Google document, have a whole bunch of resources. You can go under cat resources. There's a great podcast episode linked there that is all about dogs and cats living harmoniously. So some really great resources there. Be mindful of resources, be mindful of tight spaces, keep resources up and away, at least at first. Make sure everyone has their own food spaces, resting spaces, etc. Be mindful of high arousal times that might have nothing to do with the cat, that can still make it challenging to engage in socially appropriate ways. Remember that play is consensual, so if only one of the animals is having fun, that's not a positive interaction. And take it slow, have fun, enjoy the ride of building the relationship versus trying to rush to that end goal of meeting, and the outcome will be a lot more likely to be positive.